Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2020 show. We are coming to you once again from the Grand King Race Shops at 8155 Crawfordsville Road in Indianapolis. And as I have said many times, when things open up and you get a chance, you need to come down here and take a look. It is a working museum. You'll love it. Today's show is presented by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT IndyCar Series, SVRA, and McGilvery's Pub in Speedway. Everybody loves to go to a dentist's office. Well, I tell you how to make it good. Go to the Indy Dental Clinic. Dr. Jack Miller, who is an Indy 500 veteran, and his wife, Dr. Liz Lewis, have a phenomenal practice. I guarantee you'll love it. Give them a call, make a reservation or appointment reservation. Number 317-846-6125. And if you have a life with a computer that I do and we don't get along well, we have a new computer guy, is A+ affordable computer doctor. And why is he a doctor? Steve Freeze will make a visit to your house if necessary. Give him a call, tell him your problem, see what he can do for you. 317-328-0766. And if you ever wondered what it's like to drive your favorite race car on your favorite track, from dirt midgets at the Chili Bowl to Formula One at Nürburgring, Indy Simulation can put you in the driver's seat of their sim experience full motion race simulator. Take your choice of over 160 cars and tracks in iRacing, the same simulation professional drivers use to race their real-world rivals and learn new tracks and stay sharp between races. Visit IndySim.com to book your free demonstration ride. It's fun. If you haven't done it, you got to try it. If you want to find out what the drivers love about running Indy cars, well, why don't you take a ride in their Indy Racing Experience two-seater? You can go to IndyRacingExperience.com, find out where they're running and when. And in the promo box, put DK1, you get a 50% discount, or you can call the office. Number is 317-243-7171. You know, you need insurance for your home, your car, your commercial property, and there's only one place to go. That's VP Insurance, located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. Call Mike Pardee. He will help you. Tell him what you need. He'll give you the insurance you need, and you'll find out you get better coverage for less money. His number is 317-248-0070. And if you like vintage racing or back into the Trans Am series, go to svra.com and subscribe to Speed Tour magazine. First-class publication. Great stories, great pictures. You'll enjoy it. And while you're there, check the schedule and see where they're running. If they're in your area, I highly recommend you go. Have you always wanted a vintage car? Do you have one you need it restored? Place to go, Grand King Race Shops. They can help you out and get you a car if you're looking for one. In fact, they have some here. Or you can bring yours in and they can restore it for you. Call them, talk to them about it. 317-820-3595. My guest today is a young man returning to the 500. He's been here a number of times, and unfortunately, once he finished second in his rookie shot. He is from Colorado, and he's driving for Dreyer Reinbold Racing. Please welcome Dreyer Hildebrand. JR, thanks for joining.
Of course. Nice to be on with you, Don.
These carb day just completed. How'd your car run today?
Yeah, pretty well. We, we had a couple little kind of technical issues that we had to spend some time sorting through. But, got pit stops in. You're practicing in and out laps like you will on race day. So we didn't get quite as much done with the race car itself, setup-wise as we might have liked. But, got everybody tuned up and ready for Sunday.
Now, you started in go-karts at the age of 14. Was it your intention when you started that this is where you wanted to be? You wanted to run the Indianapolis 500?
I think at that time, open wheel definitely was, I think, what was exciting to me, when I was a kid. Growing up on the West Coast, I'm not sure that my focus was quite that narrow to start with, For me, when I first got started, I really just, I enjoyed the experience of it. Like, loved the first time I got in a go-kart, just fell in love with it. Was a huge race fan from when I was a little kid, but when I really got started, I think I was just trying to kind of say, let's see where this goes. And as I got older and as I got closer, and Champ Car and IndyCar merged kind of like middle of the 2000s. Indy very clearly became the place to be at that point.
Yeah, you were the 2009 Indy Lights champion. How much did running the lights cars help you when you got to the Indy cars? Was there an easy learn curve to jump up, or did the Indy Lights help you?
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point, especially, that was the previous generation IndyCar, the Dallara, IRO3 or whatever it was, that was run through the end of 2011. The previous generation Indy Lights car as well, and those cars were, I thought, very close together. They both ran on a Firestone tire at that time. We all kind of thought of those Indy Lights cars just being like 7/8 scale Indy cars, basically. So, I think that was definitely a good prep. I think I think Indy Lights is still a great category and good prep for today's modern Indy cars. But I felt very, the first time that I ever got in an Indy car, it was with Andretti Green, what was then Andretti Green, now Andretti Autosport, which is who I was racing in Indy Lights for, and both on an oval and the road course. First time I got in the car was up to speed straight away. So I think very good prep for at least driving an Indy car. Then there's all kinds of, pit stops and all the rest of it, are new to you when you make that jump. But, those things you get under control pretty quickly.
When you moved up, did the speed bother you when you're going down the main straight, say at the speedway, and you're going 130 miles an hour or 128, and you look in your mirror and there's a guy right there? Does that bother you? Does the speed bother you in a close competition, which IndyCar is known for?
No, I mean, you definitely get used to it. And I feel like that was something, at least the proximity to other cars was definitely something that we got used to oval racing in Indy Lights. So, if anything, when you got to IndyCar, I feel like the speed definitely is higher, and you notice that. My first test that I ever did on an oval in an IndyCar was at Kansas Speedway. And I definitely remembered, like, man, this extra 20 miles an hour or whatever it is definitely noticeable. But it's not. It's definitely, difference between 200 and 220 seems greater in the experience of doing it than like 60 to 80. So I remember that for sure. But I think in terms of the racing, you settle into it pretty quick.
How have you how have you stayed with Dreyer Reinbold? Every year he enters a car, and generally for one race a year. Yeah. And I know he's working on doing more, but how have you two guys gotten along that he brings you back every year?
Yeah, it's been a good relationship. Dennis actually gave me my, start in IndyCar, brought me in to fill in with a couple of other drivers at the end of the season in 2010 when Mike Conway got hurt here at the Speedway. So, right. We've known each other for a long time. And, when I was departing ECR, I remembered well in a couple of those years that I was doing the 500 and then racing full time for Ed, remembering moments during the 500 in particular when the Dreyer car was really good. Like, I thought better than we were at times. And so was excited to join the team, in 2018. And these last few years have just been, there've been a lot of changes with the car over that period of time. So, we changed to the new aero kits in between 17 and 18. I think between 18 and 19, we just didn't quite make the same step that everybody else made. And then this year with the aero screens being new, for an organization that we're just coming here, to run the 500, essentially, some of those things have been, I think, trickier for us to really get a handle on in terms of how they affect the handling of the car and the aerodynamics and all that stuff. But it's been a good relationship. It's a great group of guys, and we're excited to be here with them and Salesforce for 3 years in a row.
Isn't it interesting? You come back every year here and with Dennis Reinbold, and you look out in the shop, and it's the same guys you've had. He's kept working all the time.
Yeah. No, he keeps, for the most part, he keeps on the 24 car, those guys are full time, all year. Kind of regardless, they do some rallycross. They got other things going on that keeps everybody busy. And, in our car, it's not always a full time crew, but, really high quality guys. And, to your point, Dennis and Chase and all those guys definitely look after their guys for sure.
Any chance that I know I've talked to Dennis about this. I talked to him a couple of months ago, interviewed him, and he said he's always looking to expand more than the 500. Is there anything on the table that could bring you into the series a couple more times this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think this year it's kind of unlikely just with the way that things are going and the schedule being, moved around as many times as it has. That's made it a little bit of a moving target from a sponsorship perspective. But, Sage did the Indy GP earlier this year. I think they've got one other race maybe on their calendar, depending on just how the schedule shakes out for the second half of the year. So the team will do another event or two, and I think it's obviously on our radar. Dennis and I had a few different things, IndyCar and otherwise, that we were talking about, over this off season that just because of how everything's transpired didn't end up shaking out. But like we've said, with a full-time group of guys, that can kind of pivot and go do something different or continue racing IndyCar Series or whatever, there's definitely some options for us as we go forward. And this year, I think, as we all know, sponsorship plays a huge role in, whatever we end up doing, whether it's just coming out here to do the 500 or tacking on other things. And I think that's more of a question mark just in terms of how this year, how 2020 will impact where that sits for next year. So maybe we'll get through the 500 here and see where we're all standing on the other side of it.
I got a call from a guy and said, "Hey, just heard on the radio." I said, "What's that?" "The GP's been canceled." I said, "I don't think so," because I had taken a tour with Mark Miles and Pat Garlock, and I asked Mark about the GP, and he said, no, we don't know about the fans. The race will go on.
Right.
When this guy called me, I texted Mark and I said, "Has the GP been canceled since 2 days ago?" And he said, "Not at all. We'll run a doubleheader. We still don't know about the fans." So there are races, and do you prefer road courses, or are you comfortable with ovals?
I mean, I grew up road course racing. I feel like in my IndyCar career, it's funny, like when I won the Indy Lights Championship, we had a great year kind of everywhere, but I had, I think, 4 or 5 poles, and 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 4 of them were on road courses. And then, the races that we won were all road course races that year. So I feel like I kind of came into the IndyCar Series as a road course guy. And, I think fortunately, in a lot of respects, have raced for teams that are great on ovals. So that became really my strong suit once I've been here. But I'm always anxious to get back out on a road course and in a good car and work with the guys. It's such a it's fun. It's what's great about the IndyCar Series is there's that kind of diversity in terms of the schedule. So I'd take it one way or the other if you're offering extra races.
Have you found the aero screen, since last year didn't have it, this year you get in and you've only been able to test at the Speedway?
Yeah.
Have you found it a problem, or are you easy with it and you can see with it well?
Not at all. Yeah. I mean, I think today we got a little bit more of a sense of what it might be like on race day, just with, more cars on track. You have some of those, you sort of have some of those, just, the oils and lubricants and tire rubber and debris and all that kind of stuff that, definitely gets stuck on the windshield. But, I feel like, honestly, in the past, it's not that dramatic of a difference in terms of, it's not that dramatic of a difference in terms of what would just normally be on your shield. Most of the time you're waiting until a pit stop to pull a tear off anyway. It's not something that you typically do under green flag running here at the Speedway, just because the amount of time that you spend on the straightaways isn't that much. And that the teams will all, the cars have like kind of giant tear offs on the windscreen. So they'll be able to pull those on pit stops to clear you off. There could certainly be some scenarios, I guess, where it gets, really dirty with some nasty stuff from cars in front of you. But, I expect it'll be just fine. And, obviously they've had a couple of oval races this year already, and it hasn't been a problem for anybody. So, I think for us, honestly, the bigger adjustment has just been how it affects the handling of the car and trying to come to grips with that. very little of, we spent very little time kind of adapting to, what it's like as a driver in the cockpit.
When you're not here in the month of May, and in this case, August, do you drive sports cars? Do you race anything at all?
Yeah, I've kind of bounced around between a bunch of different stuff over the years. I mean, last year I was doing some rallycross for Dennis after the 500. The year before that, I did Pikes Peak Hill Climb and some other stuff. So, the IMSA series is a little tricky for guys like myself, coming from IndyCar, just because of the driver rating system. So we have high driver ratings coming from here that sort of takes us out of the frame for a number of the Pro-Am, driving opportunities, or like doing the extra races on the schedule. But that it's always something that for sure I'm interested in. And, if nothing else, there's plenty of go-kart tracks around that I use to stay fit. So, keep busy one way or the other.
Did I read or hear somewhere that you are an instructor somewhere in a school or someplace? I remember reading something.
Yeah, starting a few years ago, I became an adjunct lecturer at Stanford, which is just a really loose term that's kind of used. My role there was more like as a consultant or something, working with student groups on autonomous vehicles. So that's something that I've been doing. It's a role that I still haven't been doing a lot of work there over the last year or so, but a really cool and exciting thing to be involved in with obviously a great academic institution out there on the West Coast.
Well, you live in Colorado.
I do.
So what do you just say, I'll see you tonight, honey, and drive over to?
We just fly in and out. I mean, my work there typically is like, very little classroom interaction, all out when vehicles are being tested, and, sort of they're both to provide like human data and feedback, but then, just to talk through with the students and the student groups about, how does a high performing, human driver look at kind of different scenarios and drive a car in crisis situations and things like that. So, most of it was actually pretty fun for me, and I think a good addition for the students who are trying to figure all these things out.
Well, it's interesting that there are several drivers that are college graduates, but I don't know of any that are Rhodes Scholars. Does anybody ever make any comment, oh, stay out of the way, he's a Rhodes Scholar, let's move over?
Well, I mean, I'm not a Rhodes Scholar myself, but, definitely, I've been fortunate to obviously have a great, educational background and be able to work in those environments still too, for sure.
Well, that's great. I'm, I was watching the practice, or the carb day, they call it practice, 2 hours they gave you this year. You feel you got enough practice before qualifying?
I would definitely have taken more. This year's compact schedule for us at Dreyer, obviously, sort of qualifying stayed in the same spot, and practice just got moved up against it. So I think we would have benefited for sure from having an extra day or a day and a half, like we normally would in advance, heading into qualifying. But we'll take it where we can get it. Even just today, I mean, unfortunately we had a couple of issues, but even though we did, since we had 2 hours, we at least got some run time and got our pit stop practice in and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely put a little bit of an extra strain, I think, on the teams and crews to not be missing track time when you have it. But everybody's in the same boat at the end of the day. So we'll take what we can get.
Is it odd to walk out to pit lane or come out of your garage and there's virtually nobody around, nobody asking for your autograph or asking for a pass, and you go out in the pit lane, you climb in your car, and there's nobody in the grandstands? There's flags and banners around, but that's it. Does it feel odd?
It's definitely strange. I mean, I feel like you typically have, I put it this way, on the one hand, you mentioned being in the garage area, that's definitely something that we're all, very aware of. the one small benefit I think for us drivers is that, we are able to spend a little bit more time with the teams and in the garages, with the crews, which has been a little silver lining, I guess, just that we get to spend a little more time with the guys. But, at the same time, like, the energy of the place is totally different. And, typically as we, go through the week of practice and then Fast Friday and then qualifying and then, practice days after qualifying, carb day, at this point we're through that whole process. You're really feeling like the energy building towards the race, as the fans, because it happens with the fan base too. I mean, normally there'd be people all over the place here, like over at the concert and doing all kinds of different stuff today on carb day. So it's definitely been a change of pace for all of us, and we're missing not having those interactions for sure.
I think it would be very strange to win the race, put the car on the lift, go up to the victory circle, and you look out, there's nobody there except some photographers in front of you, and that's it.
I know.
That's gonna be kind of odd. The only people cheering for you, your crew, which is good.
It's going to be a very, whoever wins, it's going to be a bizarre experience for sure, I think.
Yeah, well, let's hope you get your chance. You almost did it. You finished second your first year out. Does that still cross your mind as you're coming out of turn 3 and heading into 4? Do you think about that, or is that just
no?
Happen?
I mean, it's something that comes up all the time. But yeah, I mean, it's, I definitely went through. I learned. There was some things to learn from what happened for sure. That I, carry with me just in terms of, kind of weird late race scenario. I was, fortunate that it was late in the race when that happened and not in the middle of the race or something, or a lap earlier, so you're definitely just a little bit more, I think, cognizant of the fact that, on lap 198, 199, 200, there can just be these kind of strange situations that, are nothing like anything that's going on in the rest of the race, because people are trying to stretch fuel or do things like that. But in terms of, I mean, it definitely gives me no kind of negative feeling, driving that into the track or at the end of the race, or, or any of that kind of stuff. And I think, at the end of the day, I think you have to come here and learn something new every year. So that's kind of what, my mindset has been. I think that's what the guys that are consistently up front here, do particularly well. They adapt well to changes with the car and the track and time of day and track temperature and all these things, to really be dialed for that last stint. So, hopefully we can work our way up through the pack and, find ourselves up there with a good car on Sunday. But even if we don't, we'll try to put 500 miles in and make sure that we're all getting something out of it.
People don't understand it, and they might hear about it, but don't understand that it really happens. When cloud cover comes over, even if it just goes into, say, turn 3 and 4, it makes a difference. Now, the turns are different anyway. All of them are different. I've had Formula One driver come over and said, driving this track is like driving a road course, because all 4 corners are different. They don't look different, but they are. And when cloud cover comes over, it changes quite dramatically, actually.
Oh yeah, no, it's I mean, I feel like these last, whatever week and a half now, we've been looking at track temp, I feel like more than I'm used to. We're used to there being a point where the track temp starts to, really affect the car, and you notice that. I think we've tended to think that it's kind of around 115 degrees of track temp. At that point, you can definitely expect the grip level and the way the tire interacts with the track to feel a little bit different, a little bit kind of, we always use the term greasy, and that never makes any sense to anybody, I feel like. But, the track, you just starts to, feel a little bit less connected to the road. But, these, like, heading into qualifying especially, the ambient temps were pretty high, up in the kind of high 80s. There was no cloud cover. So, every 2 or 3 degrees over 115 degrees, the track is continuing just to get worse. We qualified last in the first set of cars. The track temp was like up around 130. So to your point, a little bit of cloud cover can knock that down within a couple of laps of having that cloud cover. The track temp in those areas of the track come down, 5 or 8 degrees pretty quickly. That makes a huge difference in terms of how much grip you have, especially if the track temp has gotten up into that 120 something or other kind of set of temps.
Well, hopefully at 2 o'clock or 2:30 on Sunday, it's going to be warm, hopefully sunny, maybe a little cloud to make it a little exciting. But I want to wish you nothing but the best. You've proven you can drive these cars, and there's 500 miles. So if you start in the middle of the pack, you can still end up in the top, on a podium. So that's not impossible.
Yeah.
This talent and the ability you have to drive these cars, it's not impossible. We look forward to it.
Thank you very much, Don. Much appreciated.
Well, good luck Sunday, and we'll be watching and cheering. Hope everything goes well, and thanks for your time.
Cheers.
I've been talking to Dreyer Hildebrand, driving for Dreyer Reinbold Racing, and he'll be in the race this coming Sunday, the 23rd of August of all days. It's not May, it's August, but you can watch it live on television, see what's going on. Until next time, this is Don Kay saying thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.